Hey, welcome. I have this framing nailer. It's a Dewalt model D51822. I bought the thing at a big box store in a kit with a finish nailer. I haven't used it a lot, like most people say. It's about 12 years old. And when I hook up air to it, it just leaks. It has no power to drive nails. So what I'm going to do is tear it apart. I got this kit, which I haven't opened up. I'm going to tear it apart and put it in the kit. I know there's other videos, but there's a couple things I want to show a little differently. And then I also have the 5mm socket. That goes in these bolts. I'm going to disassemble it with two hands and show you what I find. So here I've removed the screws. No surprises. This did loosen up a little bit here. But look at that. It comes straight out like that. Okay, just like all the other videos. This gasket. I see nothing unique about it, except that goes down. Now we have this. And in the other videos, that just pulls out. I'll do it with two hands. So I had to grasp the body with my weaker hand and then just pull this out. You see it's got a locating tab toward the bottom. Okay, so that comes out. It has this inside. Okay. Great. Okay, next step is check out our O-rings. This is how the O-rings come in a package from the eBay seller. Next step, I'm going to disassemble this in order, and I'm going to place it on my workbench. Another video suggests probably the most important thing to know is when you disassemble this, you pull this down and you have to remove this O-ring. So since I don't have my tripod, I need two hands. I've selected a small screwdriver. What's most important when using a screwdriver to remove O-rings is you very carefully go in there and pull the O-ring out without damaging the surface. Now I've taken my O-rings out of the package. There's a total of 11 O-rings. I don't know that I want to replace them all because this has not had a lot of use, and primarily I want to replace what's bad. So I'm going to get under here, and I think that's where I'm going to find the bad one. First step is getting under here. You have to open this slightly to get this seal out. Once you open this and get part of the seal out, you can just simply walk it around with your tool very carefully, not damaging the item. Now that I've taken this seal off, I can open up this white ring and remove it. When disassembling things, I like to keep things in the order in which they were removed. So I have my main body over here, my rear cover with a seal, the spring under that, this is a seal that holds this on. So the order, this should go in between. Then this has to be removed to allow this to be removed, which then allows this to be removed. And there you have it, folks. Just like all the others you see, it's a seal. Okay. There's a large seal here. and there's a smaller seal there. So honestly, I'm just going to replace what I know is bad, primarily this seal and this seal. I'm not going to clean them up. This did not come with any lube, and people recommend not using silicone grease. This thing is all greasy. It's been clean inside. I'm not going to remove the grease. I'm going to put it back together using the existing grease on the body. Lay the items near each other if you can to make sure you have the right one. In this case, this is probably going to replace the damaged seal. So a reason I choose not to clean this too much is this piece and this piece I choose to leave intact. I don't have replacements for them, and spraying them with cleaning solvents may damage them. So I don't want to remove them. This is some kind of thing that has there's holes drilled under it. So not sure how it works or what it does, but just leave it alone. I did replace these O-rings. These are the old ones. Sometimes when you're buying an aftermarket O-ring kit, you may not want to replace all the old ones if they look in good shape. The ones you replace them with may be substandard. Ultimately, in the end, the two opaque O-rings that I did replace may be the cost. It was like $25 for the whole kit. That if that's all you need, that's all you need. Those end up being expensive O-rings. So that simply goes on there. Be careful not to open this up too far when you put it together. And then this piece goes against here. Just like that. Now the next step, I left this on top here. And we want to match up an O-ring from our selection to lock it in place. Right there you go. Now again, I couldn't do it with one hand. But what I did is I held down on this and I took the O-ring with my other hand while holding it and just walked it around. Since I left the grease on there, it slid right into place, and it's just a retaining O-ring anyhow. Okay, so here's a little trick we all know. If you forget how things came out, you look at the bottom of here and you see those little hash marks like a gear. Now those things apparently are for air to go through or something. Well, they have to line up. So that simply goes in that direction. Then, checking our alignment tab on the bottom, this simply goes in just the way we took it out. Now I need two hands for this job. There you see how neatly it sits in. You have to kind of walk it in there because it's going into a cylinder. But you'll see the plastic tabs on the corner are below the machine surface. It appears this piston has an O-ring on it too. And it just snaps in with, it has that ridge around there. Okay, so I'm going to change that with this one that came in the kit. In the back cover here, I believe this assembly is a muffler. I would not remove that. I would recommend leaving it in place. And this on the back is held on with the 3 screws. Again, I would not remove that. That's simply a cover for the muffler to redirect the air. Leave that in place. When replacing the cover, you see I have this notch going on the bottom side. You have the long groove on the top side. There is a wide short groove on this side. I believe that's for air to pass by. But I believe this one is for locating. To replace your cover, replace your gasket. Your gasket has locating tabs. Helps you hold it in place. Carefully put your back cover on Push the cylinder over the piston. Then replace your 4 screws. When tightening your screws, what I like to do is a crisscross pattern. I'll draw it up until it just about closes the gap. Then I switch sides. Right there. Again, I wish I had my tripod. Draw it up snug. Do the same thing on the others. Once you've gotten these all snug, then in the same crisscrossing pattern, take your tool, and once you feel like you've gotten it about to the full snugness, you would go about a quarter turn. Don't strip it. If you strip this, you can't use it. You have to either replace the thread or throw it away. Ideally, you would have an inch-pound torque wrench, and you would torque it to an appropriate specification. I don't know what that is, and if you disassembled it, you know about what it took with your hand to disassemble it. That's why often it's important not to disassemble it with an impact driver. If you take it apart, your breakaway torque that you can feel with your hand, you can redo that when you reassemble it. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, since it has screws down here, why don't I take this apart? There's nothing in here. This is just an adapter to get to your hose fitting. So, curiosity killed the cat, but something's got to drive the nail out of here. So I want to look in here and see what is in here, just to see how it works. What I've done is I've removed this bolt with my, I believe it was 5mm, and then I used an 11mm. It's kind of an odd shaped nut that goes on the back. It's got 2 flats on it, and that fits 11mm just like that. I'm going to take a 6mm and remove these 2 screws. So the next step would be to remove these 2 screws, which are in here. They screw into your body. They're clearly Loctited in. Okay. I would say if you take them out, you need to have Loctite to replace. You need to have a wire brush to remove that Loctite. Ideally, you would have a tap to clean the threads, and you would have Loctite to replace it. Now, when you take it out, this comes apart and everything. However, it appears that this O-ring is the one you need right there. So I'm going to pull the old one out, take a look at it. This is the old O-ring. You can see it may be somewhat flattened. This is a new one. Now here, you can clean it off with a little brake clean. Use a little non-silicone lube. I'm going to use a little caliper lube. Throw it back on there. So I'm going to put it back together. I have my blue Loctite. I wire brush the threads off these. Now, ideally, you get them all clean, because if you have Loctite remaining on this bolt and Loctite remaining in the hole, you may not get a true torque on that bolt. So ideally, you want to power wire brush and clean it. I just clean these by hands. So I'm going to put a little, I always overdo that, but really all you need is a little dab of your Loctite. It'll last a long time. Okay, now I'm going to assemble it. Okay, I've got it reassembled. A couple key points to remember is this has to slide It's hard to see, but it's got to slide right into that slot. Okay, that's one thing to remember. Another thing to remember, I'm not entirely sure this has to be on here when you put it on. I made sure it was on. But take the nails out and pull this back. That makes it fit better inside. Okay. And then the other thing is when you're torquing these screws, when you're torquing those screws, you took quite a bit of breakaway torque because of all the Loctite. Now, because it's going into a casting, I would say it's, 15, 20 foot-pounds is probably all it takes. It's a fine thread, but I'd be careful about too much torque. Once you get it torqued reasonably well, the Loctite you reapply will make sure it stays in place where it is. And then the final thing I want to say is when you put this nut in place, that nut, there's a shoulder on it, and I believe the shoulder goes toward the screw, toward the yellow. Okay. A couple things to keep in mind. So that's it. Let's see how it works. Well, this is go time. So for safety's sake, let's hook up the air with no nails. Let's try it with no nails. There you go, folks. Okay. This is a tell-all. Right there. Beautiful. So it works. I just was able to fix. So thanks for watching.